Hi guys, welcome to Code Projecti. Today I will discuss about JWT tokens, single sign-on, and authorization and authentication, all these topics. So let me give you the briefings first. So what is authentication and authorization? Let's say you are an employee of Infosys and you want to visit the DC with your father. So when you first go to Bhubaneswar DC, or let's say Kolkata DC, which is being created right now. So that time the guard will authenticate if you are a legitimate person or not, if you are a terrorist or or some unauthorized person. So he will ensure that you are a proper person. So that time he will authenticate you and your father as well. So that is the purpose of authentication. He will authenticate using, he will like, let's say he will see your ID card or uh, Aadhaar card of your father, anything like that, and he will permit you to go inside to the reception. So now you and your father went into the reception. Inside the reception, like inside the office, when you are in the receptionist will check your ID card and your father Aadhaar card. If your father has an ID card, if he is also an employee, he can visit the ODC. But if he is not, he will be restricted to that particular location. Like he will be restricted to only the reception. But you have the authority to go inside and work, or go inside some other rooms, some anywhere inside the like mainly anywhere inside Infosys campus. So your father has an authority to visit only, your father has an access to visit only the outside campus, the reception, and the food court, whatever it is. But you have access to all these things. Like you will have access to your you will have access to those places where your father have the access. But additionally you will have the access to visit the offices, visit the ODC, visit the conference room, everywhere, because you are the employee. So let's assume the employee is an admin, he can visit every pages, and this lecture room and conference room, this ODCs, other buildings are the pages of your application. So you are the admin, like you are the employee, you can visit all the pages. But your father is a normal user, that is your father is not belong to Infosys Limited, and he has only access to some of the pages, like he has only access to the outside campus and reception. So that is the authentication. First the guard will authenticate you that you and your father is a legitimate user, like legitimate person, and then he will guide you to the reception, and reception will authorize you according to your role, that you are an employee or you are a father of an employee. So with that particular role you can redirect to different pages, different rooms. The pages is like the rooms. So that is the basics of authorization and authentication. So yeah, that is one thing. So now for authorization and authentication in the application, we use user ID and password. Mainly we use user ID and password. That are the like basic things. We need user ID and password. But now in most of the organization we have one more thing, that is single sign-on. Single sign-on is nothing but if you are an employee of, let's say my current organization, that is PwC. So if you are an employee of PwC or any other organization, for the first time you open the laptop for work, you will have to enter the ID password. So that time your login has been registered. Then when you going to see any pages, any application inside your PwC boundaries, you don't need to enter password every time. That time you just need to enter your GUID or your let's say uh, email ID, and you will hit enter, and a sing a mechanism will work, and that mechanism will give an access token, and that access token has the details of your data. The access token will have the data of your let's say name and other things, and that access token validate you as a particular user to visit that particular page. So this is for that access token is nothing but JWT token, that is JSON Web Tokens. So now to show the demonstration, I have created one application. Let me open this. This is inside the Visual Studio. So this is the particular application where we have the user. Like, let me open the database to show you. So yeah, now I have connected to my local database. Here I have this user data table. I hope I'm not wrong. Uh, yeah, this one. If you can see, there is a username, that is Preetham123. The first name is Preetham, the last name, and the email ID, phone number, and my role is admin. So I've created one user with this particular configuration, and then we have one more table, that is user cred, and it is nothing but it will have one code, that is uniquely generated code, the role, and my username. My username is same as my data. Inside my data, the username, this username Preetham123 is same. So this is one entry in the database. So now if so let me walk you through this code. First I have created one login controller. No, first let me tell you what are the models. So I am using the code first approach. So here are the data models. Data model, this is class name as data model. It is having like 7 entries, 7 properties. That is nothing but this one, user data. If I can show you again, it is having 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 data. Okay, so it is interacting as a data model is nothing but this user data, and there is one user model that is having 4 data: ID, username, code, and role. It is nothing but the user cred in my database. So if I can open this again, 1 2 3 4. So now my models has been created. Now I have SQL infra. Inside that I am having the JWT DB context file. My DB context file is nothing but interacting with the database and my code. So here I have, see, this DB set is uh, nothing but user model, and the name of the user model inside database should be user cred. So I am giving user model as user cred and data model as user data. So these being the property of the DB set properties, and inside the overriding method of on model creating, this line is nothing but in the entity framework. It is saying in the entity framework this user model is nothing but user cred of the database. Similarly, this data model is nothing but user data of the database. So my DB context file is created here, and I just need to run the add migration and hit the, and I just need to run the migration here. So now so that is the DB context file, and then inside login controller, let me go to the login controller. Here first I have created I have configured the configuration. So I have this configuration here inside the app setting.json. There is a JWT. Inside JWT we have key. Key is nothing but a unique number, 20, like string size of 20. It is a unique key that has to be there for creating a JWT token. And then we have two entries, that is, one is issuer, one is audience. Issuer is nothing but this localhost is creating the JWT token, and audience is nothing but this local host is will receive the JWT token data. Okay, so this issuer and audience, this local host is I'm getting from here. I'll go to property. I'll let it load once. Yeah, so inside debug, let me open general and open debug launch profile UI. I'll open that. Here inside IIS Express, you will get to see this app URL. This HTTP localhost 63.284.280, that is nothing but this one. Let me close this and go to app setting. See this one. So this is the localhost for issuer, and my issuer and my audience is the same, this device, this application. So this application will have this application is the issuer, and this application itself is the audience to receive the data. Okay, so that is been done, and this is the connection string of my local database, and that is it from the app setting.json. And in the program.cs file, let me open it. Here in the program.cs file, we don't have any startup.cs because we are using .NET 6. .NET 6 don't have the startup.cs. Before that, we are using we were using the startup.cs to add the services and run the services, run the middlewares, all these things. But now after .NET 6, the startup.cs has been deprecated, and program.cs itself has all the data. So here I am using the add authentication. This authentication is nothing but JWT authentication. That's why we have to use an add authentication service, and this service is JWT bearer default and authentication schema, and add JWT bearer. Inside that we have to validate this parameter, like see options equal options dot token validation parameters equal new validation parameter, and validation parameter should be this 5-6 things. So here all the validation parameters has been passed. The validate issuer is true, set as true. Validate audience, set as true. Validate lifetime, set as true. Validate issuer's signing key, set as true. Valid issuer, you will get it from the configuration. That's why it is JWT issuer. That is nothing but this one, and then where is it? Then this is validate audience, nothing but the audience of the app.json, that string. And then issuer string signing key, I have to give a signing key. The signing key is nothing but this JWT token, I mean this JWT key, which I am having here. You can add it, you can add your key. You just have to go to this location. So you can add your own key, that is you can get it from random.org. That will generate you the 20 character string. Let me open my browser and show you how we can get that. Okay, here I have to write. So here I have to write random.org. I already have used this, so that's why it is coming. So let it open. So maximize the screen. Okay, so see, it is already giving me this because I have put the length as 20. So this 20, I mean this string's length will be 20. If I hit again, it will give me another string. So you can get it from this random.org. And yeah, that's it from this appsetting.json. And yeah, in the program.cs I have one more thing to show. That is you have added the authentication, so now you have to use that particular authentication. So here before the authorization, app.use authorization, you have to pass this app.use authentication. So that's how this authentication will be used. So, and one more thing is you have to add this add db context and put that name as constr, like what you have given here as constr. So you have to pass it here as well. so that this db context file will be created. I mean, db context file will interact with the database. It's a database, and create those tables for you. So that is it. And these all are the packages you have to these all are the packages. I hope you can see this. These are the packages you have to install from here. Tools, go to tools, then NuGet package manager console, and then manage NuGet package for solution. Here, let it open. In the browse, you have to type the package name. That is, for me, if it is first one is JWT bearer, I will type JWT bearer, and it will give me this one. See, it is already getting created. I have already implemented this installation. If I go to install, close this, you can see all my installations here. I have JWT bearer, you need this. Then entity framework 4, obviously we need because we are using entity framework 4. And then SQL server for SQL authentication, tools for SQL authentication, and then these tokens I need, identity model token, because I want to create token. Then inside identity model tokens we have JWT for creating the JWT tokens. And this is the like, this is nothing but swashbuckle. This will comes as default installation. So that will be your all the packages you need to install. So now let me close this, let me close this as well, don't save. Then we have, I have shown you the program.cs, app setting.json. Let me close this program.cs, app setting.json, data model, user model. Okay, and close this as well, close this as well. Okay, so now before going into the login controller and user controller, let me run the code and show you how it is working, so that you can get the gist of it. So let it start once. Okay, so this is the Swagger UI page. Here I have, inside the login controller, I have two methods, two endpoints, and for the user controller I have one endpoint. So yeah, my Swagger UI page is open, but I'll use the Postman APIs here. I have already implemented this endpoints in my Postman. I will share this collection as well. The name of the collection should be JWT. The name of the collection would be JWT, and I'll share this collection with you guys as well. So here, the first API I have to call is this get code. This get code, that means this API, and it will take username as an input. So I'm putting username as Preetham123, that would be my input, and I'll send it. So let me put a debugger here so that you can see how the code is working. So let me put debugger here. Okay, so go here. Okay, the status code is 200. Okay, and my string is getting generated. So let me send it again to show how the debugger is working. So if I send the code, send the request again, it will redirect me to this location. And here, if I step into, it is evaluating the username expression. Okay, so if I hover over username, it is, the username is set as Preetham123. So username is coming in this method, and here this query is nothing but underscore context dot user cred, where user cred is equal to username like this one. where u dot username is equal to this username which I am passing. Send me the default first or default async record. So if I step into, it will check the database, it will go and check the database. And now if we hover over this user, and if you expand this, you can see this is the code that is being created, and this is the code previously it is there, 7m2 ROB something start with this, and then the ID is 1, the role is admin, and username is Pritam123. So Pritam123 is there in the database as well. Or I mean the Pritam123 is there in the database already with one code, that is 7m2. So now I need to update that code to a new code. So it will create an object of random, it will create a variable code, then for loop is passing. Let me put a debugger here and continue this method so that I need not to enter 21 times, like for loop will iterate for 21 times. So now I am here and the code is getting generated, that is GVP9. The code is the new code is GVP9, and this new code is updated in the previous code. If you can like now you can, if you can see the previous code, user.code is 7m2, that is the previous one, and now when I hit the get code method, it is creating a new code that is GVPG, start with GV, small g small b. Okay, so now this GVPG is updated into the previous code, that is 7m2, and if I hit update, if I hit the next, it will update the user with the new code. I'll go for save change, next, and it will return. Now if I hover over this user, it's already changed, the code is being changed to GV. Previously it was something start with 7, so now it is GV. So my code is updated and it is saved, and now I will return the code with a response 200. Okay, so now it is giving me 200 okay status with this code. So I'll copy this code. This code is needed to authenticate purpose. I mean this code is needed for the post API to run. Here I have to use a parameter code and put this new code here. And before proceed, let me go and get into, put a debugger in the login controller and come here, send the request. Okay, so the login controller will get this GV code, start with GV, and then if I hit this, it will go to authenticate method with this code, with this GV P9 code. So now I will get into the authenticate method. It will just this method is nothing but to authenticate that with this particular code the user is present in the database or not. So it will again check the user cred and put this code like user cred where this new code is there in the user I mean is there in the database or not. If it is there, it will take that particular entry and check that username with this code, that username with this code is present in the user data or not. If it is there, it will pass that particular data. Okay, so first it will check if this current user, the variable card user, now right now it is null, and it will check with this method that if with this code any data is present or not. So it is checking, the check has been done. Now if I hover over this, I can get the data as code is GVPG P9. the ID is 1, role is admin, and username is Pritam123. So I'm getting a data here. So the card user will have an entry of username as Pritam123. Now I have to check that Pritam123 is present in the database of in this table or not. This table means this user data table. User data table is nothing but it is having the other information of that particular username, like the name, phone number, email ID, everything. So now if it is checking if this username is this current user is not null, that means it is having some data. So yeah, it is not null because it is having a data. It will go inside it. It will check. Now it will check user data equal where I have created a variable that is user data. So it is said as user data equals user data where username equals to current user this user current user variable dot username. So see, it is passing as Pritam123. This card user username is passing as Pritam123, and it is checking if any entry with this particular username is there in the user data table or not. If it is there, let it check once. So yeah, it's been checked. Now if I hover over this user data, I'll get an entry of, see, username is Pritam123 already there. Role is admin. I have the phone number as this. I have the last name as Bishash. I have ID as 1, first name as Pritam, and then username, then email ID as preet@gmail.com. So my data is there with this particular username. So now I will pass this. I will return this user data to this method. Yeah. So now user is null, and authenticate method will have the particular data. If I step into, then the user will have all the data here, because authenticate will pass on the data to the user. So it is the pass on has been done. So now the user will have, inside the login method, the user will have this email ID, first name, ID, last name, phone number, role, username, all these things that has been passed on from using the authenticate method to the user, this variable. Now if the user is not null, so now user is not null because we have an entry in the database with that particular username. I need to create a token. If it is not null, user is there, then var token, I have created one variable. See, first time it is null, it is showing the token as null because it will get into this get token method with this particular user, the data of the user, this user. So parameter for this get token is the whole user that has been coming from the authenticate method. So I'll get into this generate token method. Here the return type is string because I need that JWT token. The JWT token is nothing but a string, so return type would be string. So it will this method will generate the token itself. So first the systematic key, the security key. The security key is nothing but this coming from the underscore config, this JWT key. So I'm passing the key which is inside the app.json file as a security key. So first security key is null. If I pass it, so now the credential has been verified with this var credential. It is first it is null. Now if I run into it, it is getting a data here. See, the key has been passed here. Now I will create a claim. The claim is nothing but it will it will store all the data from this user to a claim, and that claim will help me to create an JWT token, and that token is nothing but the data of this claim will be passed as an encrypted string. So that is the purpose of this claim to get created. So I'll create a claim and I'll run into it. Okay, so my claim has been created. If I hover over the claim, you can see 7 entries. 7 entries. First entry is SID, that is 1. 1 is nothing but the ID of the user. Then the name as Preetham123, that is nothing but the username. Then email address. Email address is nothing but the email, that is preeth@gmail.com. Then surname. Surname is nothing but the last name, that is set as Vishwas. The given name is nothing but the first name, that is Preetham. The mobile number is nothing but the phone. Mobile phone is nothing but the phone entry, that is this string. And then role. Role is nothing but the role entry, that is admin for me. So the claim has been created. Now the token will get generated. Token will get generated using three, like if I hover over this JWT security token, it will it will eat some this JWT security token method will eat some data. The first data is issuer. So I put config. I mean it is coming from the config, that's why it is there, the issuer. Then it will eat the audience, and then it will take the claim here, coming from here, this claims, and then expiry date. So the expiry date of this JWT token set as 30 minutes. I have added the add minutes to date time now. 30, I will add the 30 minute to date time now, so that the expired time will be 30 minutes from now. And then the single signing credential as credential. So credential data has been created, I passed on here. So if I ran into it, the token has been created, I guess. If you can see, the data for the token is this. So now if you can see, this encoded payload is coming as this is the main token, encoded payload. If I can view this, so this would be my encoded payload inside this token. So this is the JWT token. And now if I run into it, it will give me generate token. If generate token is successful, then return OK. That means the 200 OK response with the token. So I'll close this. So my token has been generated. You can see this one. So I'll copy this token, and in the next method I'll pass this token. This token is having all the necessary information of Preetham123 user from the database. So this token is just a encrypted string. If I can show you from this JWT .io, here all the JWT token, you can get the decrypted strings, decrypted data of encrypted strings. So here I have to, in the encoded section, I have to pass my string, and you can see here that it is decrypted as ID as 1, then name as Preetham123, mail ID as this, username as Vishwas, I mean surname as Vishwas, given name as Preetham, mobile phone as this one, and then the role as admin, and expiry time, this is just in seconds, that means 30 minutes, this means 30 minutes, this is maybe milliseconds or second, I have a doubt on this. And then issuer is nothing but this 63280, and audience AUD as this. So it will pass all this information encrypted like this encoded one. So if I Let me go here again in the user controller and put a debugger point here. So get current user, not in the get current user. I will put the debugger in the this method. This is a get method. The method name is admin endpoint. So this method admin endpoint, this method will return me the user data. So this method is, if I give, so this is the get method, this is that same method, and here in parameters I don't need to put anything. In the header I don't need to put anything. In the authorization I have choose the authorization type as bearer token. So I put bearer token here, and in this section I'll remove this previously entered token and put my token, new token here, and send it. So it came here, checking this line. This line is nothing but this current user is calling this get current user method. First it is null, now it will go inside the get current user, and it is just data type, it is just return type as, it is just set as return type as data model. So it will go to where identity, it will check the identity of that particular user as identity. Then if identity not equal null, if identity is there, it is surely not null. So it will go inside this if, then use claims data model dot data, one data model, a data getting created, an object of data is getting created, a data model object is getting created. Then id, because this sid is the claim type, this claim type sid is a string type, and my data is having the id as an integer type. So I have to parse it to int 32, so that this sid is getting, uh, this is string one and this is integer one. So I have to parse it to int this data, so that it is passed properly here in this id. Then username, I don't need to do anything, because let me, okay, in the username, let me come here fully. In the username it is string type, this name is also string type, so I don't need to parse or something like that. Similarly for all this data, I need to do anything, I need not to do anything. So I'll go to return data and hit a continue, otherwise I have to do shift 11, this, I have to press this button many more times. So I'll go for continue. Now it come here, the data is, let me see if I having any data. Yeah, the data is set as email as preetham@gmail.com, first name as Preetham, id as 1, last name as Visha. So it is from that particular encrypted string, it is decrypting and putting the data in that particular data model class, this data model class. So now this data model class, not this class, this data model object is having all this decrypted data uh, here, and I have to pass this as a return type. So I have passed this as a return type, and if it is passed, then obviously the status code would be 200 OK, and this cur user will, this the data, the return, this get current user will pass on all the data to this current user, and this current user will have all this data which the data holds inside this method. So return current user, go there, you can see the id is 1, username is Preetham123, first name is Preetham Vishwas, and this, if I'm getting this data and this data holds a role as admin, so the user will have the access of an admin, and he can, he is authenticated properly. So that's how the token based or JWT token based authentication is been done. So this is actually the single sign on that every organization is using right now. This is the basics of single sign on. Mainly this is the main mechanism that is been using for that is the base for this single sign on. So you don't need to enter any password or ID, just need to enter this code, this one. First, the username you have to put. So instead of using the user ID and password, you just have to in the sign in page, in the sign on page, you have to just put your username. The username will generate you. If you are a if your username is valid, then username will generate you this code. This code is then passed on to this post method. This post method will generate you one JWT token that holds your data, that is this one, all this data. It will be stored inside this encrypted token, and then this token is passed on here in this here in this method, where this encrypted token is getting decrypted and your data is being sent to the application, so that the application can verify you and verify your role and you as well to provide you the access. uh, so that is it. You guys want me to show all this code, how I rate the code, and you want me to write it down for you in another video, just let me know once in the comment section. I will definitely do that. So thank you guys. I will share this collection, this code base, uh, everything in the description. You can get it from there. So thank you and happy coding. Chalo, bye.